welcome back. So let's finish up 10 and start 11, shall we, of Romans? We ended off with how beautiful are the feet of those announcing good news about good things. The problem is they haven't all paid attention to the good news and obeyed it. For Yeshayahu, Isaiah, says, Adonai, who has trusted what he has heard from us? So trust comes from what is heard. And what is heard comes through a word proclaimed about Messiah. Faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. But I say, isn't it rather that they didn't hear? Oh no, they heard. Their voice has gone out throughout the whole world, and their words to the end of the earth, according to, Psalms? But I say, isn't it rather that Israel maybe didn't understand? I will provoke you to jealousy over a non-nation. You know, all the Goyim are believers in Yeshua that aren't Jewish are a non-nation. I will provoke you to jealousy over a non-nation. Over a nation void of understanding, I will make you angry. And that comes from where? Deuteronomy. Moreover, Yeshayahu, Isaiah, boldly says, I was found by those who were not looking for me. I became known to those who did not ask for me. That would be the non-Jews. But to Israel, he says, all day long I held out my hands to a people who kept disobeying and contradicting. I hope that's not going to be said of us right now. You know, if you've read Revelation, the first 3 chapters, it talks to the 7 churches. And I'm afraid some of us are in trouble. So maybe we need to take it to heart and say, change my heart, O God. Create in me a clean heart. Teach me. Restore your Torah. That's called Teshuva, turning back to God, his ways, his laws, that he said he'd write on our hearts. Are we listening? Or have our hearts become dull with our ears? Chapter 11. In that case, I say, isn't it that God has repudiated his people? You know, he's done, right? Israel, they're not important anymore, right? Aye, seriously? My words. Paul's are, heaven forbid. For I myself am a son of Israel. This is Paul. Seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. God has not repudiated his people, whom he chose in advance. He selected Abraham. He called him out. He said, the chosen seed will be through you, through Isaac. Then through what? Jacob, and then the 12 tribes, which became Israel. Jacob's name was changed to Israel. You think God changed his mind? My words, interjecting. Or don't you know what the Tanakh says about Eliyahu? He pleads with God against Israel. He did? Yeah, he did. Adonai, he said, they have killed your prophets and torn down your altars, and I'm the only one left. And now they want to kill me too. But what was God's answer to him? God says, no, you got it wrong. I have kept for myself 7,000 men who have not bent the knee, knelt down to Baal. It's the same way in the present age, in Paul's day, when he wrote this 2,000 years ago. Guess what? It's the same today, too. There is a remnant chosen by grace. A remnant of what? Israel. Read it in context. Now, if it is by grace, it is accordingly not based on legalistic works. If it were otherwise, grace would no longer be grace. Remember, I've told you before, we're saved by grace. But then he says, if you love me, you'll obey me. It's his ways, not our ways. What follows is that Israel has not attained the goal for which she is striving. But the ones chosen have obtained it. But the rest have been made stone-like, just as the Tanakh says. God has given them a spirit of dullness, eyes that do not see and ears that do not hear, right down to the present day. And David says, let their dining table become for them a snare and a trap, a pitfall and a punishment. Let their eyes be darkened so that they can't see, with their backs bent continually. In that case, I say, Paul, isn't it that they have stumbled, with the result that they've permanently fallen away? Seriously? My words. Heaven forbid is what it says here that Paul says. But really, truly, and you know, there are believers in Yeshua, believers of Jesus today, that believe Israel is no longer the chosen and believe that Israel is permanently discarded. It's not what this says. Heaven forbid, quite the contrary. It is by means of their stumbling that the deliverance has come to the Gentiles, the Goyim, in order to provoke them, who? Israel, to jealousy. At this point, I have to ask a question, though. How can believers in Jesus possibly provoke the Jews, non-believing Jewish, to jealousy? When we've made up our own religion, we follow our own days. I mean, we've taken on pagan days, and, you know, if you read the Old Testament, you should, they were destroyed for celebrating pagan days. They were destroyed for mingling with the pagans. Yeah, read it. And somehow we think we can do that? I'll tell you how we provoke them to jealousy. When we start obeying the whole thing. When we start observing God's holy days. They're in Leviticus 23. They're not Jewish. They're God's. God. Possessive. His. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The God of creation. Moreover, if their stumbling is bringing riches to the world, that is, if Israel's being placed temporarily in a condition less favored than that of the Gentiles is bringing riches to the latter, to the Gentiles, how much greater riches will Israel in its fullness bring them? Wow. You know, it's time for Jew and Gentile to unite. It's time for us to provoke them to jealousy by observing God's word. Worship in spirit and truth. Spirit and truth. However, to those of you who are Gentiles, I say this, since I myself am, Paul, am an emissary to send to the Gentiles, I make known the importance of my work in the hope that somehow I may provoke some of my own people to jealousy and save some of them. For if their casting Yeshua aside means reconciliation for the world, what will their accepting him mean? It will be life from the dead. Wow. Now, verse 16, now if the challah, that's a cake, a loaf of bread. I make challah every Shabbat. I make sweet challah. You can make savory, but I think Shabbat is supposed to be sweet, so, and pleasant and lovely. So I make sweet challah. Now, if the challah offered as first fruits is holy, so is the whole loaf. And if the root is holy, so are the branches. I wonder what the root is. Let's keep reading. But if some of the branches were broken off, and you, a wild olive, were grafted in among them and have become equal sharers in the rich root of the olive tree, then don't boast as if you were better than the branches. He's talking to us Goyim. Don't boast. You haven't taken their place. The root's still there. The trunk's still there. Some of the branches were cut off. We were grafted in. However, if you do boast, remember that you're not supporting the root. The root is supporting you. Is it? I think some of us have severed our roots. A tree can't live without roots. Just saying. So you will say, branches were broken off so that I might be grafted in. True, but so what? They were broken off because of their lack of trust. However, you keep your place only because of your trust. That's what it says. So don't be arrogant. On the contrary, be terrified. For if God did not spare the natural branches, his chosen, he certainly won't spare you. So take a good look at God's kindness and his severity. On the one hand, severity toward those who fell off, but on the other hand, God's kindness toward you. Provided, that's a big IF, provided you maintain yourself in that kindness. Otherwise, you too will be cut off. Moreover, the others, if they do not persist in their lack of trust, will be grafted in, because God is able to graft them back in. For if you were cut out of what is by nature a wild olive tree and grafted, contrary to nature, into a cultivated olive tree, how much more will these natural branches be grafted back into their own olive tree? For brothers, I want you to understand this truth, which God formerly concealed, but has now revealed. You know, we've talked about Paul's mysteries before in other teachings. There's no mystery, it's been revealed. And he tells us consistently what it is. He says, which God formerly concealed, but has now revealed. So that you won't imagine you know more than you actually do. Oh, I have this secret. I know Paul's secret. So do I. It's written right here. It is that stoniness to a degree has come upon Israel until the Gentile world enters into its fullness. Pray that that fullness is complete so that we may be one new man, Jew and Gentile. And that it is in this way that all Israel will be saved. As the Tanakh says, out of Zion will come the Redeemer. He will turn away ungodliness from Yaakov, Jacob. And this will be my covenant with them when I take away their sins. With respect to the good news, they are hated for your sake. But with respect to being chosen, they are loved for the patriarch's sake. For God's free gifts and his calling are irrevocable. For God's free gifts and his calling are irrevocable. If Israel is his chosen, they are always his chosen. They're the apple of his eye. From beginning to end, it's all about Israel. It's irrevocable. But from beginning to end, there's always been a plan for the Gentiles, the Goyim, to be grafted in. It's irrevocable. Grace and truth. Just as you yourselves were disobedient to God before, but have received mercy now because of Israel's disobedience, so also Israel has been disobedient now, so that by your showing them the same mercy that God has also shown you, they too may now receive God's mercy. For God has shut up all mankind together in disobedience in order that he might show mercy to all. Oh, the depths of the riches and the wisdom and knowledge of God, how inscrutable are his judgments, how unsearchable are his ways. For who has known the mind of Adonai? Who has been his counselor? That comes out of Isaiah. Or who has given him anything and made him pay it back? That comes out of Job. For from him and through him and to him are all things. To him be the glory forever and ever. Amen. We're grafted in. But let's act like we're grafted in and not cut out parts and pieces. Spirit and truth. Create in us a clean heart, Abba. Open our eyes to see your truth in the word and lead us by your Spirit. Okay. See you next time.